If you're a seasoned stamp collector, you've likely encountered a stamp that is brown looking but should be orange, according to the stamp catalog. Unfortunately, you haven't discovered a printing error worth thousands of dollars. Instead, what you have is something known as sulfurization. Before we learn how to remove it and restore its original color, let's find out what exactly it is. But first, join the #1 stamp sales group on Facebook, where I list 75 premium US stamps every week, many of them selling for well below retail. In fact, many stamp dealers are buying from my group and are making a profit on what they're buying. Just search for US Stamp Shop on Facebook to get better deals on better stamps. And also, please like this video and subscribe to my channel to help support the stamp collecting hobby and allow me to make more videos just like this. Sulfurization is a chemical process that can change the color of a stamp if its ink contains lead. A lot of the older stamps from the 1800s and the early 20th century used lead in their pigments, especially the color orange. This mainly occurs on orange stamps before 1930, but it can happen to any pigment that contains lead. This process is often called oxidation by a lot of stamp collectors, but unfortunately, that's not the correct term to use. Sulfur is causing the reaction here, not oxygen, so it's called sulfurization, not oxidization. So what's the culprit? What causes sulfurization to occur? Let's start with a common place where people store their stamp collections. Many gun safes are aligned with a gypsum board, basically drywall, and then it's carpeted over. This board contains sulfur. When storing stamps in a gun safe for long periods of time, the sulfurization is likely to occur. Also, many older homes contain sulfur in their drywall. Simply leaving the stamps out and exposed to the air for long periods of time could cause some sulfurization to happen to your stamps, turning those orange stamps into brown messes. From a valuation perspective, sulfurized stamps can lower the value in that they're just not as attractive in their original color. Some collectors may feel that they're damaged to a point of no return and therefore not going to be worth as much money. Because they have that visual issue of the stamp not looking like its correct color, the value of those stamps may be affected. Serious collectors and buyers are going to prefer that their stamps are in original condition, with the colors being original to what they look like when they were first issued. Now, all stamps get some slight toning over time, especially the ones that are over 100 years old. It's just comes with age. They're not necessarily going to look like they did when they were first issued, but stamp collectors and serious dealers are going to want to have a stamp that actually looks like the color that it's supposed to, and not something that has turned into a color that's not really recognized. And they're not going to want a stamp that's going to look different than what the catalog shows. Luckily, there's an easy and cheap way to restore these sulfurized stamps back to their original color. This process can be done without damaging the stamp in any way, even without disturbing its original gum. The method is also called fuming a stamp. All right, for this experiment, I'm going to use a Scott number 675. That's the red-orange 6-cent Nebraska overprint. This stamp is noted in Scott as red-orange. I often see this stamp with sulfurization on it, almost making it look completely brown at times. So let's see if we can restore it back to its original color. The first step is to get a small glass or container. Then get a paper towel and separate its thickness into two separate sheets by peeling them apart so that you have two single one-ply sheets. Next, fill the container halfway up with hydrogen peroxide. It's important to note that hydrogen peroxide quickly loses its potency after being opened for the first time. So if you don't see results, you may need to open a new bottle. Place one of the paper towel sheets over the cup. Place a rubber band around it and pull it tight so that the surface is nice and taut. Then place your stamp face down on top of the paper towel. Check back in 24 hours. You should notice a significant change in the color of the stamp. If not, dispose of the used hydrogen peroxide and repeat again, filling the glass halfway full with new hydrogen peroxide. Like I said, if your peroxide has been open for a while, you're going to want to get a brand new bottle of it to have the most effective potency. Also, make sure that there are some spaces around the stamps where the peroxide can evaporate. The stamps might receive moisture damage if there's not enough breathing room around them. I once loaded up a glass with stamps all over the top where there was no room for the evaporation of the peroxide to exit the glass. So what happened was all of those fumes and vapor went straight into those stamps, curling them and damaging everything. Wow, as you can see, the color on this stamp has been restored almost completely. And we didn't damage any of the gum on the back of the stamp either. Look at the difference. All right, let's talk about some preventative measures to make sure that we can prevent sulfurization from occurring in the first place. The first thing to do is check where you're storing the stamps. Store stamps in a controlled environment with stable temperature and humidity. Avoid using gun safes because those are lined with gypsum, or find a gun safe that doesn't have the drywall lining in it. Also consider using archival quality storage materials, specifically designed for collectors. Next, avoid direct sunlight. Leaving your stamps exposed to sunlight can not only fade them over time, but the UV rays actually speed up the chemical reaction process, including sulfurization. And finally, make sure that you're regularly checking on your stamps, especially the ones that are susceptible to sulfurization, like older orange stamps. Early detection can almost be certain that you can course correct it back to its original color. But if you wait too long, it's going to be harder to try to restore the stamp back to its original color. I once had a stamp that was so far sulfurized that I wasn't able to restore it back. It got a little bit better than what it was, but I could never get it back to that original orange color. So make sure you're regularly checking on your stamps at least once a year to make sure if there's any sulfurization occurring. And if there is, just follow these steps and you should be able to keep your orange stamps looking bright and fresh. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you did. It helps keep the hobby of stamp collecting going, and make sure that collectors can find videos like this in their feed on YouTube. And as always, best of luck and happy collecting.